Hello everyone, welcome back to Crow's Whisper Tarot. Today we're going to be looking at your soulmate's journey towards you. So we'll have a look at timelines and see what's going on in their life before they get to meet you, and might also pick up a few thoughts of what they expect for themselves in terms of love and what they want to receive. So let's jump into the reading. Okay guys, here are the piles. We have pile 1, pile 2, pile 3 and pile 4. Take your time selecting your pile and we'll jump straight into the reading. Hello pile 1, welcome to your reading. You guys picked up the Celestite crystal. So usually the Celestite is really good for channeling messages, being able to, get a good sense of your intuition and things like that. So it could be aspects of your soulmate as well, or it can be yourself having very good intuition on who your soulmate is. But let's have a look as to the journey towards you. What can we know? What's going on in their life before they meet pile 1? So starting off, we have the Fool. It could be that they're going on a brand new journey, a change in their life, a new start when it comes to love, or just a new thought process and being really excited for life, which is amazing. We also have the 8 of Cups. So again, could be moving away from things in their life, moving on to things that is going to work in their favor. They're not going to take any sort of negative advice from people around them. It might also be that they're clearing space for you. So that means, spacing themselves out from toxic people, things along those lines as well. We also have the Page of Swords reversed, which usually indicates that they're going to be more focused on clearing out negative traits that they've sort of accumulated over time. It's definitely like they've gone through a bit of a cleanse. Could be for some of you they've gone through a dark night of the soul as well. We have the 5 of Cups and the Sun card reversed, which is an interesting one. I think they are, in a sense, starting off new. So there's a new aspect, but they might have not necessarily taken those steps to assess those sort of negative traits or negative people in their life. And so there's going to be an aspect of being in the process of clearing out space to get to that Sun card of happiness. So that's something that could be happening as well. It does seem like the journey that they're on is going to be very much central to themselves. And it's almost like an internal journey of being able to go through some shadow work, being able to understand themselves in detail, making sure that they're reflecting on the past, making sure that they're in the right mindset to have a new relationship to begin with and have you in their life. Anything that should be considered in terms of their journey? What sort of steps do they need to take before they can meet pile 1? We have the Ace of Swords and the 3 of Swords. So again, going through heartbreak, being able to piece themselves back together, being able to access those emotions if they have been suppressing them, being able to really express themselves and be able to understand what's working in their life and what's not. It can also be that they're meeting people who will help with this. So it could be a therapist, it could be people around them. But they're definitely going to be accessing a lot of interesting information from the people around them, specifically on how to go past this sort of stagnancy and being able to have a brand new mindset. And as long as they work on that and sort of focus on more their mental health and being able to focus on what is important to them, trying to analyze their own emotions and thoughts and trying to make themselves whole, essentially. So that's what's going on for them. Any other phases to this journey? So once they've assessed themselves and put themselves back together, what sort of things do we expect on top of that? once they've gone through that process, we have the Four of Cups reversed and the Six of Cups. So it can be that once they've gone through this sort of journey of knowing exactly where they stand and what they want, they're not going to be as hesitant when it comes to getting what they want or following their dreams or, you know, accessing things that they want to, you know, speaking their mind. They're not going to hold back in that process. They're going to go back to being really open and responsive and not sort of shielding themselves from a lot of things. And it could be that they previously had a lot of escapism sort of tendencies, whether it's just like in their mind where they sort of like shove things to the back of their mind, or it can be, you know, addictions and habits and things like that. But it does seem like they've worked through that and then they are more open to receiving from the people around them and being able to really create something more sustainable is what I find. So once they've gone through that pathway, how much closer do they need to go in order to meet you? We have the Six of Wands, the Star card reversed, and the Four of Wands. Okay, so I feel like once they've gone through that journey of being really open to receiving, you're going to be able to meet each other in person, or at least being able to communicate one-on-one. It does seem like it's on their side being able to go through these certain milestones in order to reach you. And it can be that you're not necessarily someone they've dreamed of having, but it's someone that they need, and they feel like you give a lot of balance and security to them. So it can be that it is a little bit unexpected. I'm not sure on your end if it's going to be someone who is completely not your type, but there's an aspect of I never knew that you are what I needed sort of thing that will be happening for them. So that is very, very sweet. I'm just going to take that bottom card. We have the Five of Swords as well. So typically Five of Swords is more of a negative card, just because you sort of almost focused on a lose-lose situation. But it does seem like in terms of this reading, and now that this has popped up, I think they're still at the first stage with their journey. It doesn't feel like they're quite at the stage of meeting new people, so it can be a little bit longer for some of you until you meet them. If you do end up meeting them while they're at this stage, it's just going to have a lot of complexities, a lot of things that don't necessarily work out in your favor. It could also be that you're sort of struggling to find what's working and what's not working in your life as well. We have the Knight of Swords reversed, the Three of Swords, the Three of Pentacles, and the Nine of Swords. So in terms of the journey towards you at the time you meet, you're going to find that on their end, they're going to be very much stuck in their head. They're going to be sort of wondering, am I really at the right stage? Have I really gone through all the work for myself in terms of achieving things? Is there anything more that I need to do to sort of make myself better or improve myself? They're always sort of looking for what more to do. And it could be that they're just, in terms of their personality, very much stuck in their head. They could have like high anxiety, especially with the Nine of Swords reversed as well. But I think at the time of meeting, you're going to be meeting in a situation that either is high stakes and high anxiety, but you have like a lot of people around you. Escape rooms, maybe, but like the idea is that you're going to be in a situation where you have to rely on the people around you and trust the people around you. And it can be in any situation that involves that. Again, games tend to be one where you sort of need a lot of teamwork and trust, but it can also be in terms of a work situation that is high stakes and you have to rely on each other to make things happen and make things work. So that could be potentially how you meet them. You might also find that in terms of personality wise, you're a little more stable, where they are a little more, not so much dreamy, but they're very much in their head and have a lot of anxiety when it comes to, am I doing the right thing? Is there something more I can do? And it's a little bit of self-blame that tends to sort of creep in for them, but in most situations they feel like you provide that sort of groundedness and that sort of connection that they really aim for. So that is pretty amazing. At the bottom of that deck, we have the High Priestess coming through. So for some of you, you could be maybe leaning towards that High Priestess energy. As I said, with the celestite crystal, it is really about being able to connect to your intuition and to your gut. So whether that's you yourself and that you're very much in tune to what you need and what you desire, you're going to help them sort of balance out that part of themselves quite well. So that's something to look forward to. But that was your reading, Pile 1. Hope you enjoyed it. Please do like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye. Hello, Pile 2. Welcome to your reading. You guys picked out the Skull Obsidian Crystal, which is quite interesting. So potentially you could be someone who has very strong boundaries or has worked through and had really strong boundaries in terms of how you sort of protect yourself, or you could be well protected. It's interesting because with this group, I don't usually bring out this crystal a lot of the times, but now that it has crept up, it can be that you have very good spiritual team or a very good connection to yourself and your deep inner strength. Sometimes I see this obsidian crystal as more like a scorpionic energy, where you tend to have like really, I guess, strong characteristics or strong personality traits where you really absorb the negativity and use it to fuel yourself for something greater. So something to keep in mind for yourself. But in terms of your soulmate, where are they going to be on their journey before they meet you? Where will Pile 2's soulmate be? Okay, we have the Knight of Wands, the Chariot, Nine of Swords reversed, Ace of Wands, and Four of Cups. A very interesting energy that's cropped up. So with the Knight of Wands, they could be very much using their time to spend going out, having fun, celebrating with like a no strings attached sort of policy, or like a YOLO effect. Essentially, they want to just enjoy life to the best of their ability, but the issue is they're always looking at past experiences and past traits, and that creates a lot of anxiety for them, or they sort of build up anxiety based on past experiences with people around them. So it can be in terms of relationships and love, that they feel like the past dictates parts of themselves, and so as they have a lot of passion and ambition towards, you know, the people around them, wanting to do things, wanting to get to places, but because they're so hyper focused on looking at the past and things that don't necessarily have meaning, they put meaning to, and so it ends up being a bit confusing in their head as to what's real and what's not. They could be a bit of a dreamer, but it's more like they see signs when there isn't signs, and so they get drawn into situations that aren't necessarily in their favor. They might also be the type of person who simply accepts someone, whoever comes their way, just because and it might just be they're trying to find, you know, their soulmate and their perfect person. But the issue is because they're constantly picking up, oh, maybe this person is, maybe I'm just reading the signs wrong, maybe this person is. And so they start dating a lot of people, but then start to doubt themselves, and so they sort of have a lot of fears when it comes to relationships, because they don't really, I feel like they should have a very strong inner knowing of who's right for them and who's not, but they doubt themselves so much that they assume that someone else is going to be better. So that's a very interesting energy that they have. A lot of confusion with this person when it comes to people around them and what to expect. They can be very social, and I feel like that leads into them wanting to have relationships with a lot of people. They could be an extrovert as well, but it does lead into them having a lot of struggles when it comes to who is right for them and who's not. We have the Judgment card, the Knight of Wands, the Page of Wands, and the Eight of Cups. With this particular person, you're going to find before they get to know you and you become part of, you sort of connect, it does feel like they have to go through a very significant, almost awakening of, yes, I can be social, yes, I can meet lots of people and see who's right for me and try things out, but I need to do it in a way that is beneficial and has clarity, rather than just going about, meeting whoever for the sake of whatever. They need to do it with a purpose, and they need to make sure that if someone's not right to you, end things as quickly as possible rather than dragging things out. And I think that's something that they have done in the past, where they just sort of hope for the best and sort of stick with the person even if they know it's not working out and they're not compatible, but they do it anyway. But again, with the Judgment card, they're going to come to terms with it. They're going to have that, awakening, this isn't right, need to change my strategy sort of moment. And that's what kicks off their journey towards you in that way. And it does feel like potentially you're going to find that they, at least for the people around them, they're going to notice a very significant shift in their personality and their traits. So that's something to look out for. And once they've gone through that shift, what is going to be happening in their life? How are they going to get closer to pile 2? Not that many cards. I'm going to keep this on the side just because that fell out more than the others. Okay, so we have the 5 of Swords, the Moon card, and the 4 of Swords. It's interesting, 5 of Swords, they then, after they've come to know, okay, so need to make a very clear distinction between who's right and who's wrong, they're going to go through a process of being very quiet. At least they're going to analyze their mind as much as possible. They might, turn towards spirituality or seeking guidance or something along those lines, and trusting in divine, just because they know that the situation isn't right, and they want to make sure, now that they've turned away from that cycle of meeting, people who aren't needed in their life and clearing out the way, they're going to find there's a lot more clarity and a lot more clarity in their mind of what they want and what they feel like they need in a person. And so that brings a lot of clarity to that situation. We also have the 5 of Wands reversed, and we also have the Knight of Swords reversed. And it can be for this person that they've gone from having a lot of wand heavy energy, so using their instincts and their not intuition necessarily, but using their instincts and their passions to drive themselves forward. Now they've slightly changed their approach to life, which is slightly more systematic, especially with that Swords energy. So there's a little more clarity. They're using their mind a lot more. They're analyzing things better. And because of that, they're going to find that it almost, instead of having like 10 people, they're able to narrow down the space as much as possible, and that allows for them to grow a little bit more and expand in the way that is more productive. And with the Knight of Swords reverse, I take it as it's not them being reckless necessarily with their approach to life, but they are almost hyper vigilant in the way they approach it. So that's interesting to see. And what is the final stage they need to go through before... I think I want to color it too. Okay. So, King of Pentacles reversed, the Devil card, and the Eight of Pentacles. Again, a very significant shift. So, gone from being a bit chaotic to a lot more structured in their approach. So with the Eight of Pentacles, they are working towards being a better person for themselves and for you. They're also working towards making sure that they have the resources and finances and the people around them that are necessary for them to be stable and to grow and to have significant connections to the people around them. And especially with the King of Pentacles reversed, they're working towards being not just financially stable, but they're working towards being more secure in themselves, making sure that, you know, they have the right family connections, that they have the right connections to their friends and colleagues and things along those lines. They're building more grounded stability around them, but also internally they're a lot more stable compared to what they were. And with the Devil card, although it seems counterintuitive, it is about them still, again, following their passions, following what they instinctually want. They're not sort of suppressing who they are, especially from their past. It's that they're more selective with their approach. They don't try and, you know, force something that isn't working out. The Devil card can also be just passion in general. So it can be that they are enjoying life a lot more. They're a lot more secure with what they want. So that's something to consider as well. So let's have a look as to the moment you meet them, what's going on in their life. What happens the moment pile 2 soulmate meets them? The Page of Swords reversed, the Seven of Pentacles, the Nine of Wands, the Eight of Pentacles reversed, and the Lover's card. Okay, so it can be that either you are introduced to them or you're in a setting where you have a lot of people sort of butting into your conversation or spying on you, one of the two. So definitely a group situation that you're involved in. Potentially it can be friends or family. Sometimes it can be work colleagues as well. You're going to find that they are just very much, I think the start of your interaction together is them sort of just hovering and trying to get to know you, trying to like sneak into conversations that you're involved in or sort of just eavesdrop on what's going on. And they're more than happy to just sit and observe for a period of time. And yes, it sounds a bit creepy, but they're more than happy to do that just to understand your vibe and to get to know you. I think for some of you, they could have a similar sort of intuitive spiritual connection, but it does involve them at one stage just sort of not caring if they're systematic with how they approach you, especially with that Eight of Pentacles reversed. They don't care about consistency. They don't care about, you know, routine of, you know, how you would sort of initially get to know a person. They just sort of drop the ball on you and sort of like you're dealing with your conversation, you're in your own space, you don't really care. They notice you, they're watching you, they're like, okay, I really want to talk to this person. Usually you would sort of sneak in, introduce yourself, you know, usual standard protocol on how you sort of get to know someone. They don't do that. They pretty much just decide to walk up to you and be like, hey, I want to date you, is that okay? Like, it's completely out of nowhere. They don't really have any sort of resistance to the situation or who you're talking to. Even if you're like mid-conversation with someone, they're just gonna like walk straight towards you and be like, hey, let's date. Like, it's very straightforward. It's very much in your face. And the other person's just standing there like, I was having a conversation and you just butted in. So something to look forward to there. But that was your reading, Pile 2. Hope you enjoyed it. Please do like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye. Welcome, Pile number 3. You picked out the amethyst crystal. So that's interesting because it could be that you yourself are very intuitive or have a very strong spiritual practice or spiritual connection. It could also be something that you have in common with your soulmate as well. So let's have a look at where they will be in life before they meet you. Where will Pile 3 soulmate be before they meet? Okay. We have the 6 of Wands, the Moon card, the Lovers, Page of Wands, 5 of Pentacles reversed, the Queen of Pentacles reversed, and the 6 of Pentacles reversed. A very, very strong energy coming through. What's the most interesting about this particular person on their journey is they've gone through, at this stage, a very strong growth process. They've gone from not having the life they want to being able to create that themselves, being able to move to a much more stronger field where they're not just giving to other people, but they're able to receive as well. And it can be that they're just about to grow into their absolute potential. The only thing that they haven't been able to go through is having strong connections to the people around them, being able to feel like the people around them are going to benefit them in some way. They're going to bring a lot of, you know, love and connection, and it can be friends, family, co-workers. Just a very, you know, caring, supportive environment is something that they don't quite have as of yet. They're going to find that at this stage there's a lot of them giving to others and them trying to restrict themselves to some capacity as well that is coming through. And so it could be that this person, they've constantly been not necessarily neglecting themselves, but they're feeling the need to bend to other people's will, and sort of give in to other people because they feel bad for them or they feel like they have to give something to them. And so that's something that they need to reconcile with. And it can be that because of that, they are quite good at suppressing their emotions or not trying to demonstrate the emotions that they feel on the inside and be able to express that externally as clearly. So they can have a little bit of blockage there, but they're at a stage in life where they have really good ambition. They know where they want to go. They've, you know, achieved their level of success that they want. But there's still an aspect of, I can do more, I can do better, I can achieve, and I can do things with my life that I want to. Now that I've done the bare minimum, there's more that I want to do. And so they're going to try and pursue that as much as possible. So for some of them, it can be like an additional job, an additional, you know, circumstance, connection, things that they want to build on a little bit more to get that stability, which is quite interesting. So let's have a look at what stage they would be at in life before they encounter you. We start off with the Ten of Pentacles. Okay, the Star, the Hermit, and the Five of Cups reversed. So yes, they are moving away from things that don't benefit them. They're starting to build more stable connections with the people around them. They're feeling more grounded, more supported by themselves and with others. They could be someone who has a lot of self-reflection. They could also have that intuitive quality as well. But it does feel like they're taking the time, now that they have exactly what they want, they have their broader vision of where they want to go in life. They want to like selectively find what is working for them and what is not. And it can be that because of that sort of struggle of trying to find what's working, what's not, being able to draw into those energies, they're going to find that emotionally they're not quite fulfilled. So even if they have a lot of physical, resources, a lot of, ambition, they have things internally, they're not having the emotional stability with the connections that they have in life. And so finding relationships and things is something that they might struggle with as well. So what's the next stage that they have to go through before they meet? Pile 3. We have the Five of Swords reversed, which funnily enough, a lot of people have been getting Five of Swords in this reading. We have the Three of Pentacles reversed and the Four of Wands reversed. So again, they go through a phase of, getting exactly what they want. They feel like they're working towards it. And then there's going to be this time period where they feel just complete isolation from people and their ambitions and things like that. Like nothing's working out. Nothing's gotten where it needs to be. Nothing feels like the puzzle pieces are all over the place. They haven't put together anything in their life. And it's just this period of being down and being not satisfied with what's in front of them. Doesn't mean that they're not working on things or trying to build better connections with the people around them. It's just this period of like quiet and discomfort, essentially. So they're not going to be in a very happy place midway through this journey, but let's have a look. What is going to happen at the final stage before they meet? What is the final stage? Okay. So we have the Moon card again reversed. We have the Tower reversed. We have the Six of Wands reversed. And we have the Nine of Pentacles. Okay. So at the final stage, they're going to find, and this is the most important phase, is they're going to have this very low period. Nothing's working out, and it's going to last for a very long period of time. Then the final stage is them being like, okay, I've done the work. I've done what I can do. Let's take a deep breath. Let's put it together. Okay, I'm fine. The situation's fine. Things will work out, I'm sure. And then all of a sudden, they're going to go through the Tower moment of things just shifting abruptly in their life. They're going to suddenly get success and suddenly get, things they dreamed of. And with the Moon card reverse, they're going to get a lot of clarity for themselves, because Moon card before was them being unclear of the connections they have and not being as emotionally open and not feeling like things are working out. And then they're going to get that sort of uplifting vibe that, there are people who are in life who are trustworthy, who they can talk to, who they have very good connections with, things working out amazingly, and then they're just going to be very satisfied with what is going to be in their life and what that's going to bring. So that's something to look forward to for this soulmate. But let's have a look at the final thing. What happens the moment you guys meet? What is going to be happening the moment they meet with your soulmate? anything of significance. Okay. At the bottom of the deck, we have the 10 of Pentacles. So, very, very happy time. We have the 6 of Wands, the Knight of Swords, the Chariot reverse, the King of Cups, and the Queen of Swords. It's a very interesting energy that's cropping through. So they could be a Scorpio or a Libra, or they could also be a Gemini. Those are the court cards that have come out. So potentially it could be that at the time of meeting, whether you are the, person that gives them strength or gives them clarity, especially with that Scorpio card with intuition, and they are someone who is a lot more stable and grounded and know exactly what they want, and they could have an additional person there who's driving you guys together, is the vibe I'm getting, because there's 3 people involved. So you are going to be, I'm assuming, as a king and queen, you're going to be either one of these 2. You're either going to be meeting them with the intention of, we just need to get to know each other, we just need clarity, things are, it feels very much a business meeting of some sort. There's not much emotions involved, it's not a fun event, it's not something that is necessarily ambition driven, but it's a moment of quiet in a very sort of stern setting. For some of you, it can be a spiritual setting. So think of like church or, some sort of prayer group or meditation group, something like that, where everyone is just very stern and in their head. And there's not really any sort of movement that's going on with the Chariot reversed. It's going to be a very quiet time, but there's going to be a moment of just this need to talk to each other, this need to be able to communicate with this person, be able to really delve into who they are, where they are, what they want to be. After this sort of quiet moment happens, there's going to be a lot of movement. And through that, you're going to be meeting this person, and there's going to be a lot of stability, a lot of connection. Again, soulmate, potentially getting married, but it is a moment of going from this moment of quiet to a moment of, I know exactly what I want, I've got it, it's in my hands, it's amazing. Like, that's all I need to know. That's all I need to know. And then you sort of move into this group setting with all these people, and there's just people are pulling you in all directions. You're still able to have a conversation with them, but it goes from like not talking to each other and just focusing to suddenly interacting with this person. So you're sort of thrown through a loop. But they have this amazing intention just to go and talk to you. Like, that's all they need. That's all they want. That's all they need. It's just they charge when the time comes, when they sort of see you, and they are sort of controlled until then, and then it like explodes. For some reason, I'm thinking of pile 2 with this. It feels like eerily complementary to what they have. So if that's you, that's you. But otherwise, that was your reading, pile 3. Hope you enjoyed it. Please do like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye. Welcome, pile 4, to your reading. You guys picked out the citrine crystal. Citrine's an interesting one because it's meant to be very good for imagination and creativity. It could be yourself or your soulmate. It can also be that you or them have a very clear image of who they are and what they're going to be. It could be that dreams and sort of daydreams are very significant because you can sort of pull out thoughts of who they are, like personality, looks. Like, you could be very good at picking those sorts of things up. So something to keep in mind. But what are they like on their journey towards you? What sort of things would they expect on their journey towards you? Right, So we have the Fool, the Four of Wands, the Emperor reversed, the Three of Wands, the Nine of Cups, and the Page of Swords reversed. So essentially, this person's going to go through a new idea of where they need to be in life and where they need to go, where they need to travel. They're going through almost a very reflective stage and then putting that into action. It feels like they are comfortable in themselves and their energy, but they feel like they haven't quite achieved exactly the dreams and ambitions they want, or they haven't decided what they are. And so you get that Page of Swords energy where you're sort of in between worlds. And it's interesting with this Page of Swords because they're essentially headless, which means that they are running around like a headless chicken, not having any clue of where they are, what they want to do, where they need to be. And I feel like this person's just sort of piecing together exactly where they need to go, what they need to achieve, things that they initially thought of doing but didn't get to like put it, pen down to paper sort of thing. So they go through this stage of really understanding themselves and who they want to be, and they're not quite in that Emperor energy where they're owning who they are, or they have achieved enough that they can stand and feel stable with what they have. So I feel like it's more ambition driven, and they are not quite at that stage where they feel like they've achieved everything. So let's have a look at the stages that they could go through before you meet. What stages do they need to go through? So we had the Ace of Wands, Eight of Cups, and the Nine of Wands, and the Fool again. So definitely on a journey to self-discovery. I think they've put in the hard work, or they're at least starting to with that first stage, but they're also trying to move away from things that aren't working in their favor, things that they've resisted, things that they haven't quite, like any sort of baggage that they sort of dragged on with them but haven't let go of. That's what they're working through. And so they're starting to get to a stage where they're more self-confident. They know a lot more of where they want to go, and they know the type of people that they need to have in their life and the type of people that they want to avoid. And so they're starting to clear a lot of space in their life for themselves and make sure that they're at the right stage in life. So what is the second phase that Path for Soulmate needs to go through? We have the Six of Pentacles and the Five of Wands. So there's an aspect of give and take, and there's also an aspect of being able to accept people for who they are, being able to accept your flaws and accept that things won't always go in our favor, and that we don't always have to stand perfect, and we don't need to, take on other people's problems, even if it is, from friends and family. We can have a balance between what we need and what we want. And so that's what they're going through at the moment, is they're going through that phase of trying to understand where they are, where they need to be, decide what is right for them in the long term and not just focus on the short-term goals. And it could be that they're also trying to resolve petty arguments between people they know and things like that. So it could be a long-term feud that they've had with someone, and so they're starting to resolve things and make sure that everyone's on the right page. So that could be something that's going on. And what about the third and final stage before they get to meet you? What is their soulmate's third stage before you meet? What is the third stage? I think that's it. Alrighty, so we have the Page of Pentacles, and we also have the 10 of Wands. So they're at a stage where they're essentially rebuilding their life. They're creating more stability, they're making sure that everything's in place. They're feeling a little bit mentally exhausted, feeling like, you know, they've done all this work trying to, you know, deal with themselves and dealing with the people around them, and now they're dealing with more like long-term goals and stability and things like that. So they're feeling a little bit drained. It can be also in terms of the dating scene that they've met a lot of people and nothing's really worked out and they feel a little bit disconnected, or not having enough passion between the people they are meeting, and so they're a little bit thrown off balance. But that's something that's expected, I find nowadays. But let's have a look at the moment you guys meet. What is the scenario? What's going through their head? Things to keep in mind. What's happening the moment they meet? We have the King of Pentacles. Okay, so they've essentially got to the stage where they're very comfortable with themselves. They know exactly what they want. They've built that stability that they were doing in the stage 3. We have the 5 of Cups, the World card reversed, the 7 of Swords reversed, Hanged Man reversed. What are reversals? We have the Knight of Cups and the Chariot reversed. A lot of things happening. So, more than anything, the most significant thing about your timing of meeting is that I would almost guarantee they're going to approach you. That's their goal, is to approach you as much as possible. The 5 of Cups is they're feeling like the environment that you guys are meeting in, again, they're going through that period of exhaustion. They don't feel like things have worked out. Things are sort of all over the place, and they're dealing with that sort of like lonesome energy within themselves. But they also see the truth that, you know, there's no point worrying about being lonely if, you know, there's no one who is right. And so they're going through that phase with the 7 of Swords reversed, is they're accepting that, you know, the truth and what is important is them seeing clearly exactly what's going on. They don't feel like there's that stagnancy of not knowing, you know, if someone's right or not, but they're in that stage where they're not getting anywhere with people, and so they feel, again, with the Chariot and the Hanged Man reverse, that they're not moving forward. They're not moving backwards, they're just as they are in the present. And it doesn't feel like they can see beyond that necessarily. But then I think you come along and you make them feel like they can connect to you a little bit better. They can see you as someone who, even if you're sort of tracking in one direction, they can see that you have that impact on their life, that you have all the stability that you can give them, and that you can provide them with that comfort. And I think it's not going to be an immediate first connection like, that's the person. It's that slow and steady approach to getting to know someone, being emotionally connected, and then sort of going to see what is going to happen next. But I think there's very high potential for the long term, but you don't see that on the first meeting. I think the first meeting is more getting to know a person for who they are, and them being able to get more open with you and be more truthful and trying to get that point across. But let's get a few more details as to what's happening during the first meeting. I feel like that would be interesting to see. What happens on that first meeting? We have the Ace of Wands reversed, the Lovers card, and the Queen of Cups reversed. So on that first meeting, the main thing that is happening is that you're going to try and, like, there's not immediate passion is the first thing. They see you as you know, someone with potential, but they don't know what sort of potential. They're just intrigued. So it's not like, oh, that person's like really amazing, you know, interesting, anything like that. It's just like, oh, okay, I'll just make conversation with this person in the meantime while I'm waiting for things to happen, because I'm, you know, not getting anywhere with anyone. So they sort of go through that phase of just getting to know you, and I think that flips a switch in their mind, like, oh, this could be interesting, like I could actually get to know them a little bit more. But it is a much slower growth with this person. But that's something to look forward to, I think, because slow isn't always bad. It's about getting to know someone in detail, which without that sort of confusion and stress, I think that they are going through something a little more chill is probably to their benefit anyway. So that was your reading pile for. Hope you enjoyed it. Please do like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.